very warm welcome to you wherever you are watching us from. My name is Abdulrazak Ali and this is Dalsan TV English News. We have a lot lined up for you, but first let's have a look at some of the stories that are making headline here in Somalia. Somalia to recruit thousands of teachers. US Africa Command probes alleged killing of 2 Cuban doctors in Somalia. Somali security forces arrest 2 Al-Shabaab suspects. Welcome back. Now let's delve into our full bulletin. The federal government of Somalia's Minister of Education Farah Sheikh Abdul Qadir announced that the government is prioritizing the expansion of basic education services by increasing the number of teachers in the country's schools. According to Mr. Farah, the number of teachers that will be increased to 3,000 by the end of this year. The Minister of Education, Farah Sheikh Abdul Qadir, announced that the government is prioritizing the expansion of basic education services by increasing the number of teachers in the country's schools. This move aims to bolster the quality of education and create opportunities for the nation's youth. Minister Abdul Qadir revealed that starting in the March of this year, the government plans to recruit an additional 3,000 teachers who will be deployed across the country. The government has set an ambitious target to increase the number of teachers working under its administration to 10,000 teachers by the year 2025. This substantial increase in the teacher workforce demonstrates the government's commitment to providing quality education to Somali children and youth. The decision to augment the number of teachers is part of the government's comprehensive strategy to enhance the education sector's performance. The government has also made crucial decisions to allocate a larger portion of the national budget to education, increasing it from 3% to 18%. Minister Farah Abdul Qadir emphasized that investing in education holds immense potential for Somalia, offering a pathway to poverty reduction and socio-economic advancement. By prioritizing education and ensuring the availability of well-trained and qualified teachers, the government aims to equip future generations with the knowledge and skills necessary to thrive in the increasingly competitive global landscape. Enhancing the education system is a key step towards empowering individuals, fostering innovation, and creating a resilient and prosperous society. By providing accessible and quality education, the Somali government seeks to unlock the full potential of its citizens and enable them to contribute meaningfully to the country's growth. The expansion of the teacher workforce will not only address the shortage of educators, but also facilitate smaller class sizes, promoting more personalized and effective learning environments. This, in turn, will enhance student engagement, academic performance, and overall educational outcomes. The United States Africa Command, that is AFRICOM, has announced that it is currently assessing the aftermath of recent airstrike targeting the militant group Al-Shabaab in Somalia to determine if it inadvertently resulted in the deaths of 2 Cuban doctors who have been held hostage by the militant group since 2009.
The United States Africa Command AFRICOM has announced that it is currently assessing the aftermath of recent airstrike targeting Al-Shabaab in Somalia to determine if it inadvertently resulted in the deaths of 2 Cuban doctors who had been held hostage by the militant group since 2019. Al-Shabaab claimed responsibility for the abduction of Azel Herrera and Lani Rodriguez, the 2 Cuban doctors who were reportedly taken captive in Kenya in April 2019. In a statement released on February 17, the extremist group alleged that U.S. airstrike carried out February 15 struck a house in the Chilib district of southern Somalia, resulting in the deaths of abducted doctors. Alvin Phillips, the spokesperson for U.S. African Command, confirmed that airstrike had indeed taken place near Chilib, a stronghold of Al-Shabaab terrorist organization. Phillips acknowledged that AFRICOM was aware of reports indicating that airstrike might have caused civilian casualties in southern Somalia. The Cuban doctors had been providing critical medical assistance in Kenya when they were forcibly taken in Somalia. The Cuban doctors had been providing critical medical assistance in Kenya.
Now, on to our next story. The Somali security forces have successfully apprehended 2 individuals suspected of affiliation with the militant group Al-Shabaab in the Marka district of the Lower Shabelle region. The Somali security forces successfully apprehended 2 individuals of affiliation with the Al-Shabaab group in the Marka district of Lower Shabelle. The suspects, identified as Ibrahim Ali Suleiman and Idris Abdi Shabelo, were intercepted by the Somali National Army officials as they attempted to infiltrate the town. Security agencies involved in the operation emphasized that Al-Shabaab suspects often attempt to sneak into urban areas with the intention of carrying out acts of insecurity and destabilization. The apprehension of Suleiman and Shabelo highlights the vigilance and effectiveness of the Somali security forces in the ongoing efforts to combat the threat posed by Al-Shabaab. Al-Shabaab, a militant group operating in Somalia, has been persistent security concern in the region, perpetrating acts of violence, terrorism, and insurgency. The group aims to overthrow the internationally recognized Somali government and establish its own strict interpretation of Islamic law. Al-Shabaab has targeted both military and civilian targets, including government officials, security forces, and innocent civilians. In recent years, Somali security forces have demonstrated an increased capacity to identify and apprehend individuals suspected of Al-Shabaab association. This trend indicates the growing alertness and effectiveness of the security forces in countering threat posed by the extremist group, have contributed to the disruption of potential acts of insecurity and the protection of the Somali people. The Somali government, with the support of international partners, have been working tirelessly to counter the influence and activities of Al-Shabaab. As the Ukraine war enters the 3rd year, the infantry of 59th Brigade are confronting a bleak reality. They are running out of soldiers and ammunition to resist their Russian invaders.
As Ukraine enters a 3rd year of war, the 59th Infantry Brigade is facing a bleak reality. It's running out of soldiers and ammunition. Reuters reporters spent 2 weeks near the front line ahead of the February 24th anniversary, speaking to more than 20 soldiers and commanders. While still motivated to fight the Russian invaders, they described the challenges of holding off a larger and better supplied enemy. One of them is a company commander who goes by the call sign Limousine.
Велика проблема з людьми.
We have a big problem with manpower. We simply lack men. People have lost the enthusiasm which they had at the beginning of the full-scale invasion. We need big reinforcements. Many people here are tired.
Багато з людей, хто втомився.
Another commander estimated that just 60 to 70% of the several thousand men in the brigade at the start of the conflict were still serving. The rest had been killed, wounded, or signed off.
Довше сидять на позиціях.
Our guys are now spending more time in the trenches and on positions. You can see yourself what the weather's like. Rain, snow, rain, snow. As a result, people simply get ill with flu or angina. They're out of action for some time, and there is nobody to replace them.
І їх теж нема ким замінити.
In December, Putin ordered Russia's forces to be increased by 170,000 troops to 1.3 million. Ukrainian officials have said their armed forces number around 800,000. Artillery shells are also in short supply, with Kyiv relying heavily on money and equipment from abroad to fund its war effort.
If America doesn't assist Ukraine, Putin is all too likely to succeed.
But with $61 billion in US aid held up by political bickering in Washington, and with the EU conceding it will miss its target to supply 1 million shells to Ukraine, it is looking more exposed than ever. Even if the front lines have largely stagnated in the last 14 months, Moscow now controls almost a fifth of Ukrainian territory, in a war that combines trench combat and high-tech drones warfare. Cheap to produce, drones can surveil enemy movements and drop ordnance with pinpoint accuracy. On the Ukrainian side alone, more than 300,000 drones were ordered from producers last year, and more than 100,000 sent to the front. Digital Minister Mikhailo Fedorov told Reuters. Moscow has also invested heavily into technology, allowing it to nullify Ukraine's early advantage. Limousin said Russia's widespread use of drones made it difficult for Ukrainian troops.
Even to dig out a position is now a problem. Our guys start to do something, a drone sees them, and a second drone arrives to drop something onto them.
Drone pilot Leleka said the high number of drones arriving at the battlefield were like taxis at the airport.
Recently, we were trying to destroy a dugout, to destroy a place from which they were firing. There was a queue of drones to destroy this firing point.
But Ukraine's drones did force the Russians to move valuable vehicles and weapons systems back by several miles, according to 2 drone pilots in different units. This drone pilot in the 24th Mechanized Brigade uses the call sign NATO.
After we got good drones, in 2 or 3 months, it's now very hard to find vehicles to hit. We led very successful drone attacks then, now we have less of those. But again, this is actually a positive outcome.
Both sides are now strengthening their electronic warfare systems, which can disrupt the frequencies sent from the pilot to the drone, making them miss their target or drop out of the sky.
Thank you so much for tuning in to Dalsan TV English News. My name is Abdulrazak Ali. Have a lovely evening.